I finished my first sleeve, and I absolutely love the way it look. It look like you never stop here to continue with the other piece. It look perfect. One thing though, it's a little bit too short for Willie, but I will have to fix that after I finish the other sleeve. And first I did the sleeve with a seed stitch to see how it looked, and I didn't like it. It didn't look right. So I decided to do the first row. When I cast on the stitches, I did the first row like one net, one purl, one net, one purl, like the seed stitch. But then after the second one, I knit all my stitches. And it will be faster and much easier, and it look much nicer. So I'm gonna explain exactly what I did for my first sleeve. That way you can keep track for your decrease, because I have to do a few decrease in order to have a smaller sleeve at the end. So what I did was, in the first round, I have my 54 stitches, and like I said, I did one net, one purl. In the second round, I did a decrease at the beginning and end of the round. I did two together. I knit two together at the beginning. I knit the rest of the stitches and two knit together at the end. That left me with 52 stitches. Now, the decrease is going to change at the beginning and at the end of the round, but in different rounds. So in round 3, I knit those 52 stitches. So in round 4, I knit two together, and I knit the rest of the stitches, and I end up with 51 stitches. In number 5, I knit all the stitches. And in number 6, I knit all the stitches until the end. I knit the two last stitch together, and I end up with 50 stitches. And that's the repetition that you're gonna do. Round 4, 5, and 6, and 7. That is a knit, those 4. That way you always changing at the beginning and at the end of the round. You do the decrease always with one full round with no decrease in between. So I decrease, like I said, in number 2, two together at the beginning, two together at the end. And then in number 4, I decrease at the beginning. And number 6, I decrease at the end. Excuse me. And number 8 at the beginning, and number 10 at the end. And then in number 10, I have 48 stitches already. And I work the repetition of the decrease until I have 42 stitches left. I was doing that all the way here, all that combination of round of decrease. And then from 21 to 28, I knit all the stitches. That's like this piece that you see here, that you don't see any decrease. And in 29, I did my two first stitch together. And then in 35, I did the last two together. I left all those round with no decrease. And again, I decrease in 44 and in 46. And then, excuse me, I end up with 38 stitches. And I work those 38 stitches until I have the length where I decrease in here to do the cuff for the sleeve. So I'm gonna show you how you're gonna start at the beginning of the sleeve and how you're gonna work the rest, but I don't gonna show you every single round because the whole video will take forever to do. And then at the end I did a 1x1 rib and these stitches, and it's perfect. Something else that I wanted to mention, for my 1x1 rib, I use my small double pointed needles. So if you don't have a double pointed needle and you want to do the 1x1 rib with a straight needle, you can do that. What you do is, when you start the first round, you do the 1x1. When you get to the end, and instead to work on the round, you turn your work around and go back and forth until you have your cuff. And then after, you sew that piece. Something else that I forgot to mention is, if you don't have circular needle, because not everyone have circular needle, you can do the sleeve with a straight needle, and I'm going to explain quick what you can do with a straight needle. I recommend, if what you have a straight needle, not to sew here at the bottom. That way you have your piece open and you can work back and forth, and it'll be much easier, and after you just sew all the way to the end. So if you're working with a straight needle, you cast on your stitches on your needlework on the wrong side of your piece, the first row. That way you do the 1 by 1 rib, and then when it's time to work row 2, you are on the right side, the net side, because you have to do net on the right side and purl on the wrong side after. So in number 2, you will start with the net row, and you will do the decrease at the beginning, at the end. And then in number 3, you will purl your stitches, and then in number 4, starting number 4, you knit the 2 first stitch together, knit the rest, and then in number 5 you purl your stitches, and number 6 you will knit, and the last 2 stitches you will knit together. And like that's how you're going to continue working back and forth. In one row you purl, in one row you knit, but you alternate those knits, decrease, one in the beginning and the next one at the end, the 2 together. And that's how you can do this with a straight needle if you don't have circular needle, so it will be very easy as well. I wanted to explain that just in case you don't have circular needles. So I grab another ball of this. This is my second one. The other one wasn't a full ball that I started with, but I needed another one so for the sleeve and give it more length. So I'm very excited about this. So let's start casting our 54 stitches on our needles. Now we are ready to cast on our stitches, and I just wanted to show my press-on nails this time. I removed them yesterday, and first I wasn't sure because I don't wear squares tips, but they're growing on me. So now what we're gonna do, you're gonna start in the center here, and you're gonna start casting on your stitches with your needle as you go. And I have to make sure that I have my 54 stitches, that way it's exactly the same as the other one. Something that I forgot to mention is, since we're going to do the first round with the seed stitch, you have to pay attention of the seed stitch here. I have my 54 stitches, and one of them is outside, and I had to put the piece of yarn to keep it in place, that way I don't lose that stitch. So here I have my seed stitch, starting it here. So I have purl net and then purl net. That means I have to start with a purl, and instead of a net I have to start one purl, one net, one purl, and top of the purl will be a net, and top of the net will be a purl, and so on, in order to keep the seed stitch going, because I was working and then I realized I'm doing the 1 by 1 rib on top of each other. So I wanted to mention that. You're gonna need a round counter or a piece of paper to keep track of your rounds. I'm using both. The paper is to keep track in which round I'm doing the decrease, and this one is just in case I'm watching TV or something and I have to keep, each time I start the round I know with the marker. But I'm gonna use it in the next one because we're gonna start this with the work open right now. So we're gonna start with a purl, and I'm gonna bring the tail to the inside, yarn to the front, and I'm gonna purl my first stitch. And if you want to make this, I bought this little plastic round counter, and I customized to my liking. I have a tutorial on how to do this. Just look how to make round counter with Ruby Neck Crochet Tejido or Ruby Stem, and it will show up. So that was a purl. Now yarn to the back and net, a purl. And you see, this is a purl from the 6th stitch, it's a net now, and this net is a purl, and so on. I'm gonna continue like this all the way till the end. Now you will need a marker here. So the first stitch here, this one is a little bit loose because this is loose. So the first 2 stitches, you're going to knit them together. And this will close that gap. You knit those 2 together. And now you're going to knit all your stitches until the last 2 that you will knit them together. So I will meet you here when it's time to do that decrease at the end of this round 2. Now for the third round, you're going to knit all your stitches, no decrease. Just knit. And the good thing about working in the round is that you don't have to do purls. Just knit. I'm going to work on round 4, and now you're going to start with 2 together. Knit 2 together. And you're going to knit all your stitches until the end. You're going to knit round 5 and round 6. You're going to knit all your stitches until you have 2 left that you're going to knit them together. And then on 7 you will knit all the stitches, and 8 you repeat row or round 4, and so on. Anyway, I'm going to leave here somewhere here what you're going to do, in which round you do the decrease, and how you're going to do it. So I will finish this round, and then I'll continue showing you for a couple more what you're going to do. I finished round 5 and 6. You're going to knit until the last 2 that you're going to knit them together, and that's the sequence of decrease that you're going to do. So you're going to continue with those repetitions as you go until you have 42 stitches left. After that, you will knit, and for mine in round 29 I did a decrease. I did the 2 first stitch together, and in number 35 I did the last 2 together, and then in 44 I did the 2 first stitch together, and in 46 the last 2. I end up with 38 stitches. After that I work those 38 stitches until round 70, and in 71 I did some decrease. So I will work those sequence until I have my 70 rounds. But here I'm gonna leave in which round I did the decrease and how I did it. So I'll meet you here in number 70. Remember, the last 2 and number 6 are together. Now I'm gonna work in round 71, and I'm gonna do a round of decrease. I'm gonna knit 2 stitches, and the next 2 I will knit them together. Knit 2 separate stitches and then 2 together. I finished that round of decrease. Now I have 28 stitches, and I'm gonna work them with my double pointed needle, the 1x1 rep. And if you don't have double pointed needle, what you can do is work these with your work open. You can go back and forth, and then after you leave a little piece of yarn, and then you sew the little piece, and it will be perfect. So what you do is you go one net, one purl, one net, one purl, and then you turn yourself or the work around, and then do you work backwards. You will net the net and purl the pearls. But for me, with a double pointed needle, and I did from round 72 to 82, 10 round, and then I cast off or bind off my stitches. I changed to this type of marker, that way I mark the beginning of my work. So I'm gonna place 7 stitches on my fourth. I'm gonna place 7 stitches on the fourth. I'm gonna place 7 stitches on each of the fourth needle that I need to work, and then the fifth is the one that you knit with the rest, and these mark the beginning of the round. Now with this one, I'm gonna work all my stitches. And I wanted to mention, if it's the first time you're working with a circular needle and you're a little bit intimidated to work with, they're very easy to work with. You always have to have the one that you just finished with, the one to the right, and the front, because if you put it to the back, it's really difficult to work with that on the way. So it's good to have them here. You see, all this one is to this side, to the right, are the one that you're gonna work next. And also when you're gonna work changing needles, you have to have these as close as you can, this strand, that way all the stitches are nice and even. And that's it. You just do the one by one rib. Something that I wanted to mention, if the first stitch is a net, you go and you put the needle like this. But if it's a purl, like this one, you just bring the needle from the inside out. And it's very easy. So I'm gonna work until round 82, and I will meet you here to cast off or bind off our stitches. I finished those rounds. Now we're gonna cast off or bind off our stitches, and we're gonna work them as you're supposed to do the 1 by 1 rib. So you're gonna net the first one and purl the second, and you're gonna pass the first one on top of the second one, and then you will net the next one, and then the one that was a purl you'll pass on top of that one that you just net, and so on. I finished the sleeves, and I absolutely love the way I look. I look amazing. So now what I'm gonna do is give it more length, and I'm gonna do some seed stitch for the length. I'm gonna come here, and I'm gonna cast on all my border stitches, and then I will give the length. I don't know yet if the length that I'm gonna give with the seed stitch, or if I'm gonna do a 1 by 1 rib at the end. That is as I work. I'm gonna grab my needle. I have to change the cable to a longer cable, or add the other cable that I have there. And I'm gonna come here, and in the center stitch of this corner, I'm gonna start like I did for the other one, casting on all my stitches like so, and then I will do one net, one purl, one net, one purl until the end, and then at the way back I will net the purl and I will purl the nets in order to do the seed stitch. I think I will do probably almost the same amount of rows, or the width that I have here at the border, to see. I will play by ear as I work. So that's what I'm gonna do, and I will meet you here when I'm done my seed stitch for the length. So I changed the needle size just to cast on the stitches to the 5.5 millimeter, because these stitches are a little bit tight. So I'll work with the 5.5, and I will work the first row. That way the stitch get a little bit loose, and then I will change back again to my 6.5 millimeter needle. Something that I wanted to mention, something that I wanted to mention, when you're doing the casting on the stitches, make sure that you have odd numbers. That way when you do the stitch, if you start with a net, you'll finish with a net, or if you start with a purl, you'll finish with the purl. That way both ends are exactly the same. I finished with a seed stitch, but I left the needles on place. Well, I changed to the bigger size needle here just to hold the stitches, that way they don't fall off out of the needle, because if I leave a thin one it will fall off. This one is thick enough that they will stay in place. I put one big one on each end. I did 6 centimeter, almost 2.5 inches for the extra length. After I'm gonna do the 1x1 rib, and I will be like this for the finished border of the length. But first I want to work on each front to give it that a little extra, and I will do probably around 5 to 6 row for here. And what I'm doing is I start already. This is the smaller size needle, this is the regular size that I'm been working, the 6.5. I will cast on all my border stitches on the needle until this one end here, and I will work those stitches back and forth with the 6th stitch, and then I cast off the stitches and do the same here on the other side. After I finish this other side, and then I will cast on those extra stitches that I will have here for the border of the front, and I will do the 1x1 rib, and then after I will work on a little bit on the collar, and then we will sew the buttons and we will done our piece. Remember, this is a marriage between a crochet and net, so it's a little bit fiddly to work around, especially because it's open on the front. I have 57 stitches, and since my yarn is attached in here, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start working with it. So I'm gonna come here and I'm gonna start with a purl, because I don't want to bring this to the back like this. I want that stitch to be full a purl stitch, so I'm gonna work like this. I'm gonna come here and I'm working with these needles, with a big one and a small one, because I like I did with the rest when I started casting on the stitches. And then I will purl, net, purl, net, purl until I finish. And if you don't have an extra set of needle to leave it like that, what you do is you grab a piece of yarn, pass it through, tie it, keep it in place, and then work both front, and then you'll go back and then work all the stitches for the border. So what I'm doing now is working on this side. My stitch just fell off, but I will grab it again. I will work on this side, and then after on this one, and then I will meet you here. And I think probably 5 to 6 rows. I finished with the 2 front border, and I absolutely love the way I look. Like this. So in this side I finished in the top, and this side I finished in the lower part, and I still have attached here the yarn, and the last stitch still open there. I did 6 rows, and in number 7 I cast them off. Now I'm gonna change to the regular size needle that I've been working with, because I put this big one in order for my stitches not to fall off. I'm gonna pick all those stitches and this one as well in this side, and then I'm gonna start doing the 1x1 rib for around 10-12 rows, give or take, around this width. And you have to have odd numbers for the border, because you start with a net, you want to finish with a net, or if you start with a purl, you finish with a purl. You want to have them both the same. And after we finish the border, we're gonna come here, we're gonna pick all the top stitches, and we're gonna work a little bit on the collar. That way we have a better finish, and then sew the buttons, and we are done. I absolutely love it, the way it looks. I did 9 rows. Now number 10, I'm gonna cast off or bind off our stitches, and I'm gonna do it as we supposed to work on them. Like, for example, I will purl the first one and knit the second one, and that first purl I will pass over and cast it off on top of that knit, and then the next will be a purl, and then that knit that I have on the needle I will pass it over the purl, and so on, exactly the same as I did for the border of the sleeve. I finished with the border and it looked like this. Now I'm gonna grab the stitches here around the collar, and I will do the C-stitch for 3 or 4 rows only, just to give a better finish around the top. Absolutely love the way it's looking. With that extra, it gives me the extra length that I wanted. And this is in the back. I absolutely love it. So I'm gonna do that, and then sew some buttons, and we're done. So with a smaller size needle, I'm gonna pull all the stitches and always in the outside border. That way when I start working, it will look like this. You see, this is the inside border for this one. It's in the inside, and this one in here, you see it. So I'm gonna just place the stitches on the needle, and I have to make sure they are odd numbers. Well, I had to change my nails because those square nails was like, I didn't like them. I found them look horrible on me. And I love this almond shape. These are the medium length. Absolutely love it. And from now on, this is the one that I always gonna use because they look much nicer. And I did a nice design there to have something on. But I love them. Sorry, I mentioned nails in this, but you know, I'm doing my own nails and all that stuff, and they last like almost 3 weeks. So it's good, very good, very good. So I finished casting on the stitches. I changed the needles. This is the small one on this side, because I cast them that way. So I exchanged them, and because I like to do this first one with the smaller, because otherwise the bigger one don't wanna pass through these stitches. And I will do 1 purl, 1 net, 1 purl, 1 net, 1 purl, 1 net, 1 purl, and then again I will do 1 purl, 1 net, 1 the way back, and that will create my seed stitch for 3 to 4 rows, and then it's just the buttons. The stitches are a little bit tight, but once you do this first row, the stitches will loosen up a little bit and they will be the same size of the working needle. I finished passing the stitches, and my goodness, those last and this side was really hard. This hurt. But now I'm ready to go, and I finished with the purl, and I'm gonna start with the purl. The C stitch, always you start with the same stitch that you finish, because on the back of the purl is a net, and vice versa, on the back of the net is a purl. So I purl there. Here, if you look, it's a net stitch. So if I purl again, and the other side will be a net stitch. Let me grab the right strand. So I start again with a purl, and net, a purl, and net, and like that I'm gonna work those few rows. Yo le iba a poner estos botones, pero William me dijo que a él no le gusta con botones porque se le hace un poquito difícil abrochárselo. Y entonces yo tengo estos aquí que son de presión, unos botones de esos de presión, unos broches. Entonces se los voy a pegar. De todas formas, de esto nada más tenía 4 y no me hubiera dado, con el largo que tiene esto, no me hubiera dado para ponerlo, que me quedara bien. Entonces con esos broches se me hace más fácil porque le puedo poner, ve, uno aquí, ve, más o menos cada 3, 4 dedos. Le puedo poner un broche aquí así para que esté bien abrigadito. Y entonces serían unos 5 broches más o menos. Pero son de estos broches que vienen así, que para esto sí no le puedo mostrar aquí cómo, porque no puedo dar golpe aquí arriba, porque tengo la cámara y eso. Lo que lo voy a hacer es allá abajo en una mesa, hacer esto, pegar los broches, y entonces ya le mostraría el resultado final. Esto es lo que me quedó de esta bola de hilo, que es la que más se utiliza, de la segunda bola. Este es el que más se utiliza. De este necesitan 2 bolas para hacer un abriguito más o menos de este tamaño. Acuérdense que William tiene 7 años, pero el tamaño de él es como un niño de 10 años, sinceramente. Well, I just finished this absolutely gorgeous sweater. I absolutely love it. I tried it on and William, it's perfect. And I ordered on AliExpress some tags with my logo. I saw it there. So they're these ones. I ordered 2 types or 3 types. These are cloth. So they come long like this. Some more there. And then I cut them and then iron them to fold them the part that I'm sewing. This part in here. And this one are a little bit different. This one go like this. So I ordered other ones that I absolutely love. There's this one. This is different bundle. This one. Since the Ruby neck crochet tejido, it was too long to do it like this one. I don't know if you guys can see there. I put Ruby in the top and net crochet tejido under. And don't look crystal clear because I have a peeling thing, that piece of plastic that you have to peel in order to look amazing. So I'm gonna show you. Here I sewed another piece, and this one, and look how gorgeous it looks and shiny. Ruby neck crochet tejido, ruby in the top, neck crochet tejido under. Absolutely love it. This is perfect for hats, sweaters, you know, you name it. Absolutely love them. So on AliExpress I ordered them. Really easy people to deal with. That was, you know, really good experience. And we went back and forth chit-chatting about how I wanted the logo, the size. I sent them my logo, and then we play around with the design, and there I have all my tags. And instead of handmade tag, now I have my logo. So William tried it on and it looked amazing. He absolutely loved it. These will fit a kid around 8 to 10 years old. So if you want it bigger, you will make the squares bigger. If you want it smaller, you make the square a little bit smaller. And also depend of how many rows that you do within the knitted part. That will be the size of the sweater, but it looks amazing. The back. I love it. Absolutely love it. This is my first time doing this combination of knit and crochet, and I absolutely love it. And I hope you guys like it and give it a try and a thumbs up. And subscribe to my channel if you are not already a subscriber. And if you make this beautiful design and you want to send me some pictures, you can do it through my Facebook page, Ruby Knit Crochet Tejido, or my Instagram, Ruby Knit Crochet Tejido. Please share my video with friends and family and in groups. That way you help me grow here in YouTube. I wish you have a beautiful day. Bye.